Hello, I'd like to welcome you to Career Plan in a Day. You've heard from many people that a career plan is critical for career success. You know that many successful people have used a career plan, but you're unsure. What do I do? How do I do it? How much time do I need to invest? Fortunately, you need one day a year to plan your career. You need to sit down and really go through a range of worksheets that will help you decide where you're going and how you're going to get there. It's not a difficult process, but it does require some thinking time. We've designed a range of little exercises that will help you on the pathway. We also strongly recommend that you review it maybe every month or quarter to make sure you're on track and you're getting the progression that you need and you're adding those competencies to your skill base. You'll find that a career plan is very, very similar to a roadmap. You need to know where you are, and a GPS doesn't work if it doesn't know where you are. It can't plot the pathway. But once you know where you are, and then you need to know where you're going, then you can decide on what the steps are to get there. Very similar to a GPS or a roadmap. You may along the way find that there's a roadblock or a detour you need to make. And sometimes you may even decide that you want to change destination. That's okay. I've done it a few times in my career, and most people will change their career many times. And this is helpful to do that. They say that the average person somewhere between 3 to 5 times will have different careers. And in that case, it's even more critical that you have a career plan, because then you can use how you can leverage this career into your next career. You may be wondering, what are the benefits you might find of career planning? I'll take you through some of the benefits. But first, I'd like to tell you a story. You may remember the story from when you were a child, or maybe you've read it to one of your children, Alice Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. In it, Alice is walking down a pathway and it splits in two, and there's a tree with a Cheshire cat in the tree. And she says to the Cheshire cat, "Which path should I take?" And he says, "Where do you want to go?" And she says, "I don't care." And he says, "Well, then it doesn't matter which path you take." And she says, "As long as I go somewhere." And he said, "Well, you're sure to do that." So I think a career plan should not be like Alice Through the Looking Glass, because you should care about where you're going. And the first benefit I find is that a career plan gives you direction and focus. It allows you to try out different directions, as I did when I did my career plan, and as I was exploring the different avenues, because we don't all know what we want to do. And when you do know, it gives you focus to plan a way there. You'll find that with a career plan, you will make much better decisions. It's hard to make career decisions, and it's hard to sometimes make even small decisions. So for instance, if you're asked, do you want to work on this project or this project? If you have no template and no career plan, you'll just pick one that you like. Whereas a strategic decision would look at what are the competencies, what are the knowledge, skills, experience you're going to gain from each of the projects, and which one will lead you further and closer to your career destination. You may be offered jobs at different points. And if you have a career plan, you know which job will move you towards your career destination. Without it, you just take the job that's there or because it's offered. And that's not a good basis for a career. You'll also reduce the number of mistakes. We've all made mistakes in our career. Well, I certainly have. I think I told you that in the last section, some of the mistakes. But with a career plan, you make fewer mistakes and you're much more targeted. You will also find that you will achieve your goals much quicker. A number of people have told me that once they've had a career plan, they've been surprised about how quickly they've achieved their goals. And you may find this is true too. It'll give you much more self-confidence. So if you were networking or telling someone what you do today and what you want to do in the future, you'll do it with confidence. And that will allow you to succeed much better. It will also open more opportunities, because if you tell people about where you want to go, sometimes they may know of potential pathways you can go or people you can talk to. So it may open new opportunities. You always need to allow for adjustments. Now, some people are really good and they know exactly where they want to go to, but some people don't. And when you don't know, you will try out different careers. You will try out different jobs and gradually center on where you need to go, like I did. And it will help you by allowing you to reflect and decide what adjustments you want to do. A lot of people today talk about pivoting. And pivoting is moving from this career to the next career. And a career plan will really help you in this. And finally, it will help you with something really big, employability. Because when you have a career plan, you do constantly gain new skills which actually help you ensure that you are employable. And in fact, the only person who can guarantee your employability is you. So you need to take the reins on this and have a career plan. So there are many, many benefits that you can find from a career plan. I'd love to hear at different times what you think about career planning and how it's helped you with your future. I'd like to tell you my story, which will help you understand why I'm so passionate about career planning. I first did a degree at the University of East Anglia in the UK. I studied history of art, in fact French art from 1850 to 1904. Very specific degree. I loved it. I got to go to galleries, write these long papers on brushstroke or composition or color. And it was fabulous. I really loved the time I was doing the degree. However, one day reality hit. I graduated and I needed a job. I started looking around for art history jobs, and there were very, very few. The ones that were there were highly competitive and didn't pay very well, and I didn't like any of the companies I interviewed with. And I thought, what am I going to do now? A family friend said, you need to do accounting. I went off and did accounting and then got a job in accounting. I quickly discovered I didn't really like the work. It was very detailed, you had to be very thorough, and it was very precise. These are not necessarily qualities that I'm known for. If you knew me well, you'd say, I'm big picture, I'm strategic, I like to create a vision into the future and then find the pathway to it. And this is not accounting. I needed to find another role. I was quite fortunate. The company I worked for allowed me to do another job, which was strategy. And I really enjoyed it because it is big picture, it is strategic. And I knew enough of myself to know I enjoyed it. However, before I committed fully to that role, I started to do research. I discovered that most large companies had small teams, maybe 3, 4, 5 people doing strategy roles. You needed to have a depth of information in one industry. And I'm going, this is not me, because I knew I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted to live and work in different countries. And I knew I wouldn't want to be the expert in one industry because it would be too limiting, and I'd want to try different industries. So I needed to find another opportunity. I got a short-term secondment into an HR team for a very short period of time to do some training. I immediately loved it. I knew I had found my work because it was strategic, it was complex, it allowed me to help people with their career, and I really am passionate about doing that. So I'm like, okay, this is the field. Now, to get a permanent role in HR, I needed to take a step down in order to get a permanent role, really to a base level one. So I did that. And I moved forward, and then I started to say, now, what do I want to do in HR? Where do I want to end up? And I developed a full career plan because I looked and I decided I wanted to be head of HR, which that title is usually called Chief HR Officer, VP of HR, general manager of HR, a range of titles, depending on the company. So I knew what I wanted to do, and I worked on a career plan to get me there. I did a lot of research about what was required by a VP of HR. And I discovered that you needed good expertise in a range of areas. And I thought the best way to do that is to actually work in different areas. So over my career, I worked in compensation, employee relations, and IR. I worked in HR business partnering, learning and development. So I got a whole range of different skills, and I kept picking up more skills, and fortunately got promoted a number of times. And I was very lucky because I did end up as head of HR, and I had a great time. It was really a role I thoroughly enjoyed. But I couldn't have done it without having a career plan, because that was my guidepost. It was my roadmap to the future. And you can see, after having some false starts along the way, I needed something that was much better and much more thorough so that I could actually make progress. And that's when I really became passionate when I saw the success it was for me to have a career plan. So I've always advocated people having a career plan. And it's interesting. Quite often people will come into my office and say they want some career advice. And I usually ask them, so what do you have in your career plan? Where do you want to go? And most people either don't have a plan, or they don't even know where they want to go. And it's hard to help someone if you don't know, because it is your roadmap. And as you know, if you don't know where you're going, it's difficult. So that's why I'm really passionate about career planning.